Hello everyone, welcome back to the course on Chemical Reaction Engineering 1. Myself, Nidhi Mehta, Assistant Professor at Chemical Engineering Department, LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. So let's just start our today's session. Hello everyone, welcome to the course on Chemical Reaction Engineering 2. Myself, Nidhi Mehta, Assistant Professor at Chemical Engineering Department, LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. So, let's just start with our topic, which is non-ideal flow. As you all already know that we have started this topic from few sessions which we have already covered, right? So, what do we mean by non-ideal flow? Those flow patterns which do not follow mixed flow or plug flow behavior are termed as non-ideal flow, right? Here we are dealing with fluid and reactors. So, whenever we are doing or conducting any kind of reaction inside a reactor, we must know each and everything about that particular reaction. In that, the flow of liquid plays a vital role, correct? So, for determining which type of flow happening, we must understand the basic difference between the ideal flow and the non-ideal flow. Because in general practice, whenever we are dealing with any kind of reactions or with any kind of reactors in our real life and industries, then there will be always a non-ideal flow. Why? Because in general practice, ideal behavior is not possible, correct? So, basically, the flow which is governed inside any kind of reactor for converting our raw material into desired product, the behavior or flow pattern of reactant or final product are considered to be as non-ideal flow. The main reason behind non-ideal flow is the generation of either some kind of dead zones or maybe due to formation of short circuiting, channeling and so on. We have seen all these parameters which are responsible for generating non-ideal flow in our previous sessions, correct? We have also seen what are various methods to determine RTD. Correct. So, what is RTD? Again, we need to recall. RTD is basically a residence time distribution, which is a characteristic of any reactor which determines the performance of that particular reactor. Correct. And to determine that RTD, we use a tracer. And that tracer is what? Tracer is either a radioactive material or it can be a chemical substance, right? We just take known amount of tracer, insert it into our reactor and determine the outlet concentration with respect to time. Once we got the data between the time and amount of tracer coming out of the reactor, we will plot a graph of concentration versus time, correct? After that, we will determine RTD value, that is E values in each and every given time interval using the formula E equals to CdT upon integration of 0 to infinite Ct dt, correct? So, doing this calculation, we can easily determine the values of E or RTD at each and every given time intervals, correct? Now, coming to the main point, the tracer which we are using to determine RTD can be injected into our reactor in two different ways. First method is pulse method, which we have seen and covered in our last session, and let's just see what are its disadvantages. So using pulse method, we can determine RTD of any reactor. But what are the disadvantages of pulse methods? Let's just see. Whenever we are using pulse input method, the first point which comes into our mind, or the first drawback which we must consider, is that injection of tracer must be done in a short span of time. What do we mean by that? Whatever quantity of tracer which are inserting or which we are using in our reactor, it should be inserted into the reactor, or it should be sent into the reactor in just one shot, right? At one time or one instant only, the entire amount should be inserted. For an example, suppose we are using 10 ml of tracer. So I need to insert the entire 10 ml into reactor at a given time. At the same given time, I will insert the entire 10 amount of tracer into the reactor. Point number 2. Inaccurate with C curve with long tails. So what do we mean by long tail of our C curve? When there is a values or concentration which is coming out of the reactor even after a long time period, right? So there will be a long tail formed inside a curve. So whenever there is a small values of or amount of tracer which is coming out of the reactor even after long span of time, in that particular cases, pulse input method is inaccurate. Next point is amount of tracer which you are inserting must be known. So this is again very important, because if the amount of tracer which we are using is not accurately known, then this method will not be useful. Correct? So these are the three major disadvantages of using pulse input method, and due to this only we have another method which is known as step input method. Now let's just see what happened in case of step input method. Correct? So in case of step input method, we are using concentration of tracer and keeping it constant. Right? What we are doing, we are giving a step input of tracer inside our reactor. Step input refers to we will continuously send our tracer with a constant flow rate inside our reactor. Is it clear? Again I am repeating. We are continuously sending known amount of tracer with a known flow rate inside our reactor. Correct? Now, until when I need to send this tracer inside the reactor, right? So till the outlet concentration of reactor is equal to the inlet concentration of our reactor, we need to send or keep concentration of tracer constant. Correct? Now, as you can see in this particular graph. So what does this graph? This is input port. As you can see here, the tracer is sent into the reactor, and this is when it is sent initially, slowly the amount will increase and it is going to be constant. So we need to send this until we will get the constant line at our output. As you can see here, this is the output curve. So initially when we have sent the known amount of tracer at outlet, as you can see here, the curve will slowly increase and then it will have a near about constant value or horizontal line until we achieve this horizontal line. This and this both are at the same level. Until we achieve this line, we need to send the known amount of tracer inside the reactor, right? So C out, which is the outlet concentration of tracer, is given by C0 integration 0 to T ET into DT, where ET is the RTD of our reactor, right? And ET can be determined using this particular formula for step input method. Now, coming to cumulative RTD function. So, what do we mean by cumulative RTD function? Cumulative RTD function means summation of all the RTD values, right? So, cumulative RTD function is given by fraction of effluent that has been in the reactor for less than time t. Cumulative RTD function is given by the fraction of effluent which is inside the reactor for less than time t. Suppose, for an example, we want to determine what is the amount of tracer inside reactor for time less than 5 minutes. Correct. So, Ft will be calculated for the fraction of amount which is inside the reactor for less than time 5 minutes. Correct. So, this is given by Ft, that is cumulative RTD function is given by 0 to T Et into dt. Correct. Now, what is Ft? Ft is our cumulative RTD function. So, when time is less than 0, the value of Ft will be ultimately 0. Why? Because when time is less than 0, that means we have not given input of our tracer inside the reactor. So, definitely the fraction of effluent inside the reactor will also be 0. For Ft value which is greater than or equals to 0 will be for the time greater than or equals to 0. But when we talk about F infinite, it will be equals to 1 because the entire amount of RTD will be calculated in this time when time is infinite. Correct. So, it can be given by 1 minus Ft equals to T to infinite Et dt. This is a formula which will be used to determine the cumulative RTD function. So, if you can see in this particular graph, this is a graph between time and cumulative RTD function. So, 80% of the moles spend 40 minutes or less inside the reactor, as you can see in this particular graph. So, this point 8 represents that 80% of tracer molecule has spent time which is less than 40 minutes. Correct. So, coming to the next topic, which is a relationship between E curve and F curve. So, what is F? As we have already discussed right now. So, F is basically a fraction of effluent that has been inside the reactor for time less than t minutes. Correct. So, this is a curve which shows a relationship between E, which is exit age distribution or RTD, and F, which is a cumulative RTD function. So, as you can see that we just need to add the exit values to form the F curve. From this particular point also, the F curve will going to increase. Why it is increasing? Because we are doing summation of all the E values, of all the values which we are getting at our outlet of reactor to form the F curve. Correct. So, Ft is basically 0 to t et into dt. Ft is nothing but integration of all the e values. Correct. Now, next is et. So, we know the formula of et. Et is given by Ct upon integration of 0 to t Ct into dt. Let's discuss boundary conditions. Right. So, as you can see in this particular graph, I have plotted 4 different graphs as you can see. This graph represents the ideal behavior of PFR. So, as you can see that for given time there will be a peak and after that there will be a decrease in the value. But this is for ideal condition. Whenever we are dealing with a real reactor, the pattern of outlet will be changed in this particular form because we will be considering channeling and dead zone in case of real reactors. Correct. Now, the next is when we are talking about the real CSTR, the curve pattern should be in this form. But whenever we are dealing with the real reactors or real CSTR, the pattern is changed due to the formation of dead zones in the reactor. Correct. So, now let's talk about mean residence time. So, what do we mean by mean residence time? Mean residence time is a mean time which tracer has spent inside a reactor. Correct. So, mean residence time is denoted by Tm. For any ideal reactor, the space-time tau is defined as V by V0, where V is the volume of reactor and V0 is the volumetric flow rate. So, mean residence time Tm is equal to tau in either ideal or non-ideal reactor. So, you can use the formula Tm equals to 0 to infinite integration of T et dt upon 0 to infinite et into dt. Correct. So, this is the formula which is used to determine mean residence time inside any reactor. V by V0 is nothing but tau, which is space time or mean residence time. Correct. So, this is all about step input, mean residence time and cumulative RTD function. Hope the topic is clear. Thank you.